plant. I got a good friend, Jason Adamson, come down from Fairview today. Jason, say hello.
Hello. I love what you're doing, Hank. This is, we've talked about this for a long time, and it's been so fun to see what Hank's got going on down here. And we came down I think it's one of the first times you'd looked at this building.
Yeah, when I was barely putting it together. That would have been a year ago in October, maybe.
Year in October.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, holy cow, what are you doing?
I remember you saying that to me. Like, what in the heck are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, this great big building, and he's setting up a meat packing plant. And the neatest thing for me about this was why he wanted to do it. And at the time, we were seeing a major problem with getting beef cut up. I know I'd been on a waiting list I checked with one of the meat packing plants, and they told me to call them at 8 in the morning, March 1st.
Yep.
And I
8 months out.
Yeah, I called early, and I got a spot for May of the following year.
Yep.
That you had to wait. And I remember we were talking about what a problem it was, and with all these ranchers with their beef and nowhere to go with it. Nowhere. And so people were stealing them from them basically at the auctions. And
yeah, or sending them to the dead pit in Texas, like we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about all those that they were just killing, throwing in a pit in Texas. And Hank says, we got to find a way to solve this problem. And then I think I've been telling him, I was like, the why it was the problem that you wanted to overcome was so incredible. And what you bit off, I mean, this guy bit off a chunk like no other. And I got to hand it to him, because talk about lay it all on the line. He talks about taking a chance and doing something that makes a difference. How do you be that guy that makes a difference in life for so many people? And what was so cool, we talked this morning, he invited me down. There were some ranchers coming down, and I got to meet those people and see how excited they were about what has came to Richfield, what's came to San Pete County, and everything that's happening. And I mean, this guy rolled the dice on all of it.
You got to come down on a big day. We had 25 or so guys here today, ranchers and people in the community that are pretty dang excited about what we're up to.
For sure. Very excited.
Yeah.
So excited. And all the neat things he's added to it. It's not just a slaughterhouse at all. He's involving the whole community, solving many problems, and then the deal with the school.
Yep, the education
is so awesome, and the people loved it and supported it, and they welcome this business like no other. It's a problem that needed to be solved. You came up with an answer, and
well, I'm coming up with an answer, but I mean, we got to realize that the answers that come to me at 3 a.m, they're not of my own making. God's coming up with answers for me, and that's been a big part of this journey, and I'll continue to give the credit where it belongs. So that's what I say.
So what was your, how do you describe your why? Well, I mean, what made you want to take on this? I mean, this is a huge endeavor.
Yeah, for sure it is.
When you look at this project, it's not a small project by any means.
Well, one time when I was a little frustrated that I wasn't able to get any financial help for anything, any of my infrastructure or anything, somebody said to me, they said, well, surely you didn't go out on this journey, without knowing all the costs. And I said to him, well, surely you didn't get born into this life knowing all the experiences that are going to come your way. I mean, it's a good thing we don't know sometimes what we don't know, because if we do, I think a lot of people would never get started.
Definitely.
And I think this is so much more than a slaughterhouse. I mean, I think it's a message across America and the West of hope. I mean, I'm nobody, and here I am doing something that's all the way out of my wheelhouse. Not in this industry, but I think that everything that I've been doing, all the businesses and the experience that I've gained through the years, has really been getting me ready for what I'm doing right now.
Tell me a little bit about the journey. I mean, when you started out, there was some huge hurdles to overcome.
Well,
Huge.
there's still some huge hurdles. I mean, I think to have to bore an interstate highway and run a mile of sewer pipe might have been a reason for somebody to quit a long time ago. To have to solve where you're going to send your waste because we don't want it in our landfill. So you got to solve that. Another big obstacle. Another one is to take care of your water pre-treatment plan so that you can actually send it to the sewer if and when you can get hooked to the city sewer, and jump through all of that enormous red tape. And looking at it now, I can see that those obstacles were big enough for me that it drove me to my knees, and it made me seek out people that could help. And otherwise, I would have not just been so diligent about, okay, well, if you can't help me, then who can? And if you can't help me, then who can? And if you can't help me, then who can? And there's some all stars that are probably going to get to see this someday, this video, and they're going to know who they are because they're guys that have really come to the party, and they've been champions of the plant.
You've got some great people here.
Yeah.
I love meeting the people. And one thing I got to tell you, Hank's done is the research. He didn't come into this as a pro meat cutter or knowing anything about the business. You've researched everything, but one thing I can tell you about him, he's a perfectionist. He gets everything. I mean,
Well, thank
you and your research, everything I ever watch you do it first class.
Well, that's just a way to live.
I mean, right to where you get in your truck. Your truck's always spotless, and I love it.
Well, I mean, the little things matter. And really, we're much more than a beef plant. And I think the people that come to work here, the experience that they gain is worth more than the salary that they'll get. So that's important.
And I love that saying. And he does. He puts so much faith in his people, and I do feel like when you've been around Hank, you leave a better person.
Thank you.
And I've watched your boys, I've watched your family. Probably the hardest working family you'll ever meet. I mean, how old's Peyton?
He's 12 now.
But when he was 11, he was down there in Vegas running a track hole, putting two pipes, a pipe inside a pipe. 11 years old, and the kid can do it like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's good.
Well, I mean, I haven't been able to do what I can here without the fact that my family and my boys in the businesses have stepped up big time, because we're busy in concrete and excavation general contracting business, and it's a lot to manage. But they have really stepped up, and I think sometimes when we expect greater things out of ourselves, God pours the capacity into us. And for me to come down here, we're 68 weeks in right now, and what that looks like is I leave my place in Utah County at 5:30 in the morning on Mondays, and my family doesn't see me until late Thursday night or Friday. And we come down here and we just pour in 16-hour days, and
Wow.
that's what we've been able to do so fast here.
You've done a lot in a short time, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
What would you say is your biggest motivating factor to do this? What was
I think to make a difference, to make something matter. I mean, it's certainly not money. If it was money, it wouldn't be this. And the packing house is not. It's not a big money maker. It's the vehicle that makes other opportunities. It's the hub. It's the pickup truck that takes you to work, and it gives us a lot of opportunity to do many different spokes on our wheel. But I mean, the packing house, it's the expensive part. It's the hard part. I mean, I had no idea I needed to learn how to be a politician to do this.
you spoke at a lot of city meetings?
But I mean, it matters, and education matters, and getting people on your side matters, and having them understand really what you're up to, it matters a ton.
Yeah.
But we're turning the corner, and we've gained a lot of momentum, and I think we have a lot of people really seeing the vision of what we're up to and what we want to be up to.
Definitely. And what we saw today, that was exciting. It
Yeah.
was really, I mean, it gave me goosebumps. to watch these guys. I saw probably 40 ranchers
Yeah.
that showed up today. And you know what I was thinking? These are the guys that are out in the field. These are the guys that are out there breaking ice in these freezing cold temperatures, feeding those cows. They're delivering calves. They're the ones putting up the hay all summer. They're moving pipe. They work their tails off.
Yeah. Work 16 hours a day, wondering how they can carve out 3 more hours just to finish their chores.
Yeah,
And somehow feeling like it's almost a calling to them
yeah, they have a
to,
passion
to
for it.
stay engaged in the game. And it's interesting because in our country, 1.5% feed 98.5%.
Why God made a farmer.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
They just did a. They were so fun to talk to. They're just our kind of people,
Yep.
and they weren't in a hurry to leave. They hung around for quite a while, and
No, I mean a 1 o'clock meeting, and we were trying to get out the door at 5.
yeah,
So,
and they were so excited to see it come
yep.
to this valley, and they were talking about everything that it's bringing.
Yeah.
And it took one man with a dream to make a difference. And I was talking with Hank earlier. How do you take all this pressure? I couldn't do it, Hank. I couldn't.
Well,
I look at your workload. In fact, you were talking just a second ago. You were talking about spokes on the wheel
yeah.
that this business is going to do.
Yeah.
What are those spokes?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have already turned around thousands of cattle that won't leave the state of Utah anymore, and we have not even opened yet. But with the commitments that we have, we've turned thousands of head of cattle around. So Utahns and the West will be eating American beef, not imported from another country, raised by Utah and the surrounding area ranchers. And we'll have different levels. I mean, people say, they always want to have you give a resume on exactly what's going to go through the plant. Well, the reality of it is there's going to be different levels, and there'll be meat that feeds America, and there'll be meat that you want to put in your own freezer, and it'll be the best. So the best stuff that comes through this plant, it'll go to the spoke of our direct ship, our customers that are going to be direct ship right out of the plant. Then we're going to have food services will take a lot. So every restaurant, every burger shop, everybody that uses meat gets it somewhere. So food distribution services, it's going to take a lot. And then the third spoke on the wheel is the custom customer. It's the guy like you that needs to bring your beef in, and we need to process it for you. And maybe you have, 2 more next
Mm-hmm.
month,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of a thing. But I think more than all of that, I mean, that's only 3 of the spokes. Education is a big spoke for us. And we just took a chance and rolled the dice on another $70,000. I mean, can you imagine how many millions we must be into this place? But we took a chance on another 70,000 because we believe in education and we want to build that classroom, that observation room. So we're doing that. That's a spoke on our
That
wheel.
was so popular in our walkthrough today, and it's in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But those ranchers were so excited about the education part, and not only is it an education in the meatpacking industry, the slaughterhouse, but Hank's taking it one step further to where it's teaching these kids business.
Yep.
He doesn't want them to just know how to cut meat. He wants them to know how to run a business, whatever that business may be. That after they come here and they go through the education in Hank's plant, they're going to be able to leave and know what to do with their own business. And hopefully that's going to keep our kids home in these small rural areas. All of our kids, they grow up and they leave to go get jobs somewhere else. Hopefully they've got enough of an education they can start a business here and stay home with their families. That's an awesome goal. I love that.
Well, we have the opportunity to be a good example in so many ways here because of the amount of momentum behind us and interest level of people and what they want to see out of the plant, what we want to see out of the plant. And me and my staff, we've got a lot of ideas on the way we want to go, and certainly our wastewater treatment plant, where we'll conserve up to 8 million gallons of water a year, is a big thing. I mean, we live in the desert, and what we're going to be doing with our waste is just revolutionary. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
we're trying to lead out on all of those things. And you went through the plant and you went through the barn, and you know
Hmm.
that the little things matter, don't you?
Everything,
Yep.
everything. I did have the pleasure of going and seeing a few places with Hank and meeting some temple,
Yeah. Yeah, you
and
got to go with us when we just said, "Hey, we have got to. I've got to go see her."
it was so amazing. He wanted to see her because he wanted everything perfect. There again, he's a perfectionist. It's got to be perfect. We took a trip. We all hopped on a plane, went to Colorado, met with
Yep.
this lady,
Yeah.
and then we went through state of the art everything and the details and the way she talked about the pens and wanted those cows to be so comfortable going through there. Didn't want them to be pushed, pressured, nothing. It
Right.
was, I mean, from every little detail, even as much as the floor they were standing on. She wanted them to be comfortable. She didn't want them to slip. She didn't want any sharp corners.
Yeah.
She wanted it had to flow. And then Hank came home and put even more time into that and worked with other people designing it to where he could design these chutes, corrals to where there was no stress on the cows,
Yeah.
which not only keeps them calm, is way better for them, but also the adrenaline doesn't get going.
Well, and Temple, she's 71 years old now, but she was blessed with autism, and as a young person, she was able to see the way a cow sees it. And how awesome is that? That her designs now, I think, impact so over 80% of the feed yards of America. I mean, it's no small thing. I mean, how she has impacted the world, and where most people would look at it as a bad thing, she took that. She was blessed with autism, and because of that, super highly intelligent, and be able to see things that other people couldn't see. So I think when we can invite people like that into our space and harvest those golden nuggets that they have to offer,
Yeah,
then we should. Because every one of us, we're going to carry a sack full of something. You get to the end of the week and you're going to carry a sack full of crap, or you're going to carry a sack full of gold, and you get to choose. And I think it's up to all of us to choose what it is that we're putting our energy into.
that's awesome. That, when you're talking about custom meats, and we met some guys today that were talking about finishing beef and what they feed and what their dad used to feed and how it's evolved and to make these beefs so much better and they taste so good. I mean, it just talking to them, it just made me. I wanted to have one of their hamburgers
Yeah, it gives
or a
you a whole new
steak.
respect for the way they care about their cattle.
Yeah, they want these things to come through just prime and
Yep.
taste so great. And as I was thinking about that, I took my daughter to a fast food place last week, and we don't eat out hardly ever. We we raise our own cows and we cook it at home. And we bought her a hamburger. She took one bite and wouldn't eat it. She told me it wasn't hamburger. She's 10 years old. It's not. That is not hamburger,
Out of the
Dad.
mouths of babes, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
reminds me, one time we're building a Walmart, and my 10-year-old daughter, she says, "Dad, it doesn't seem like you're very happy when you're building Walmarts." That's kind of an aha moment, right? And sometimes it's out of
Yeah,
a 10-year-old, and you like,
yeah.
she's right.
You're
And
absolutely
you know
right.
how good I felt when I turned down that next Walmart? When they said, "We want you to come in and do this," and I turned that down. You know how good I felt walking out of that meeting?
Pretty
And
good.
yet it took a 10-year-old to kind of like wake you up to those things.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And she pointed that out about that hamburger. And I would just like to say, if that's what you're used to, go get you a real burger.
yeah.
It's a huge difference. Enough that my daughter was hungry and she wouldn't eat it. She didn't eat it, Hank. She's, we threw it away. But that's the difference between a beef that's finished right and
Well,
cut
we
right.
we have a lot of comments, and I mean, I'm brand new to social. I only started on the 2nd of November, but I know that it's how you reach a lot of people, and I'm finding out how to learn it, being coached from different people and whatever. And if there's one thing that we're learning, everybody wants to. There's so many people on our pages that want to get behind and want to do something, and I think that if we can just turn up our intensity in our own circles, like make a different choice. buy from the rancher instead of where you've been buying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just choose different and get those around you to choose different. Can you imagine if we could get those around us just to turn up their intensity 20%? I mean, can you imagine the force for good that we would be to be reckoned with?
That'd be awesome.
So that's how we change. We change by just turning up our own intensity, holding ourselves responsible first, and then encourage people to make different choices and turn up their intensity.
Yeah, this country never needed it more than now.
That's right.
Never ever.
Yeah.
And
In so many ways.
a lot of these guys were saying that their beef's getting shipped out of the country, and a lot of foreign beef is coming in. But we've got it right here, right in our valley.
That's right.
Plenty of it. How many people was it you were telling me this plant would feed?
Well, 200,000. I mean, single shift, 200,000. We
In
get the
one shift, you can feed
we
200,000
get the
people.
ranching community to do something different. You know, by the time we sharpen our own sword here, why, you think about the good this can come out of this plant.
Not very many people can say that, Hank.
Well,
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, God works through men and women of the flesh, so we better get our saw sharpened.
Yeah, that's exciting. How exciting would it be to know that you'd put that together and all these people in this valley are coming together with the same mission in these tough times where we're all worried. You know, do we have enough food storage? Are we going to be okay? What's tomorrow going to bring?
Well, I think it's it's creating that community, if you will, of really having each other's back. I mean, I can't do this alone, and we have a fantastic staff here, but it really requires people making a different choice, and it's all
Yeah,
about agency. We're just giving them a new choice, a choice
yeah,
that they haven't had. So people can choose to bring their cattle or not bring their cattle, and it's about choice. But one thing they ought to know is that they bring them here, and we are going to do our very damn best. And we're gonna package it the best, and we're going to handle it the most humane way. I mean, those things matter a lot, and how an animal is handled, and the person that actually does that harvesting of that animal. We want the right person in that spot, somebody who cares about life, so that when that animal makes that final sacrifice, why, it's done in the very
mm-hmm.
best way,
Mm-hmm.
and that matters a lot. So,
Yeah, I love hearing you talk about that today. That's a big deal.
well, yeah, the last thing we want is some knucklehead who doesn't care about life. I mean, no way, no how.
Yeah, awesome,
So,
awesome. Well, if you could bring one thing to the people, this county, one thing out of this plant, what would it be? What's your dream?
I think that the most important thing is the salvation of souls, not the something that's bought with money. In other words, like, I was prompted a week ago to speak around the topic of suicide. And it's because last Tuesday, it was for the fifth or sixth time, somebody in a city council meeting brought up that there had been 11 people transported to mental health. So another way of saying that is, you know, it's a pretty bleak outlook in America, the amount of how suicide has just gone on the climb. And so I think if I said the one thing that I hope people leave here with, and I hope that the guys that were here today left with, is hope that they can actually make a different choice, and their best days are still ahead of them. Like, and they can make a difference, because I think, Proverbs 29:18 tells us where there's no hope, the people perish, where there's no vision. And I think no matter what age we are, we have to continue to paint that picture for ourselves. So the number one thing coming out of this plant, if I had my way, it's hope more than beef.
That's awesome. That is awesome. One thing about it, I got to tell you with Hank, I've watched him, everybody around him, he makes their life better. He really does. You go out of your way to make people better.
Well,
I
thank
know
you.
when, if I've had a bad day or something, you've been really good
No,
about,
thanks.
just help me out with some focus and direction. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Do something big. You're very encouraging.
Well, I don't want to go. We're all going into the box. At the end of the day, we're all going into the box. And I don't want to go into the box with a bunch of regrets. So give it your all, spend your body in good causes. And that's what I want.
And I'd like to tell you, this is real. There's nothing here that's fake. I don't do live videos. I've never done them. And I kind of wanted to have a chance to kind of warm up. He says, no.
It's only the second one I've ever done.
He says, no, I want it real. I want everything I do is real. Real time, real everything from the heart.
Raw.
Just raw. Just be honest. And
yep.
He's got a great mission. It is so cool. If you haven't been part of it, jump in. Jump in, bring in some cows.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, gang. If anybody wants to do something, why, get a hold of the staff and, buy a couple of hats. I mean, $10 a hat's going to the classroom, and we only need to sell 7,000 hats. No big deal. Anybody that can do this. I mean, here we are, day 40, and one of the things that I said this morning is, if God can get the earth ready for a big cleansing and a bath in 40 days, then we ought to not complain about what we got ahead of us.
Tell me just a short list of what you got to do in 40 days.
Well, in 40 days, so we have awarded the contract. We've got to bore I-70. We've got to lay in, 3/4 of a mile of sewer pipe. We've got to get our wastewater treatment plant put together, our waste treatment plant put together. We did finish up our floor coatings for the most part last week, so we've got 14 electrical panels, all of the equipment. We've got to finish our 3,000 square foot addition that we did before we even opened. We did our first expansion before we opened. So we've got to do that, and then get the electrical's a big thing. We got to finish the refrigeration and the wall panels and get the equipment installed. And the knock room. We still need to get all that done and pour a floor in there and 2 sewage ejection pumps and a grease interceptor.
No big deal. 40 days should be easy, right? That's a day in the life of Hank Barlow.
Well, we get 3 days every day. What are you doing with your third day?
Yeah, he's a busy man, very busy man with a lot of vision, a lot of determination, and I don't know how you do it.
Well, one of the things about this journey is this has been the most, for myself, it's been the most character building, soul searching, reflecting. I mean, it's walking up to the mountain every single day. And
you could have retired, been sitting on the beach, kicking back, enjoying life.
Well,
instead he's got that 40 days ahead of him.
Well, I mean it when I say that, what we become through our experience is more important to us than what we gathered up with money.
Definitely.
So
anyways, I wanted you to know my friend like I know him. And I think you do. I think you know his heart and it's in the right place. And he did this as much for a problem he saw in our country as, more so than he did for himself. And he has rolled all the dice on it.
Thanks for coming down. I really appreciate it.
Thank
you. You have a way of asking me some questions that, I don't really want to say those things on my own, but thanks for bringing that out.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Let's have a steak.
Yeah. Okay. When's our first ribeye?